The alien warship tore through the palace dome like paper, and Zarakai hit the floor as debris rained down around her. She was the queen of the Velthries Empire, ruler of 40 star systems, and right now she was about to die in her own throne room. Her guards fired plasma rifles at the breach, but the attackers cut through them like wheat. The Kryn had come. The species that conquered civilizations for sport, that turned entire worlds into hunting grounds. They'd been at her borders for months, testing defenses, probing weaknesses. Now they were here. Zarakai's communicator sparked and died on her wrist. The whole palace grid was down. She rolled behind a pillar as energy bolts scorched the marble where she'd been standing. Her ceremonial armor was decorative, useless. She had maybe seconds before they found her. Then she heard footsteps. Human footsteps. The rhythm was different from Velthris movement, lighter but purposeful. "Zara, stay down." It was Ryan, her husband of 2 years, the human diplomat she'd married to seal the alliance between their peoples. The man who worked in archives and smiled at cultural exchange ceremonies. He was running toward her through a combat zone in civilian clothes. "Ryan, get back!" she shouted. He didn't. He reached her position and dropped beside her, his green eyes scanning the chaos with an intensity she'd never seen before. 3 Kryn warriors landed in the throne room, their exoskeletons gleaming, weapons charging. They were 8 feet tall, built for slaughter. "How many ways out?" Ryan asked, his voice perfectly calm. "None that we can reach. Ryan, I'm sorry. I never wanted you in danger like this." He touched her face, gentle despite the hell erupting around them. "You're not going to die today. We have no weapons, no guards left alive, no—" Ryan stood up, just stood up, fully exposed, and started walking toward the Kryn warriors. Zarakai's blood went cold. Had the fear broken his mind? The lead Kryn spotted him and raised its weapon, mandibles clicking in what passed for laughter among their kind. A human, unarmed, approaching. Then Ryan moved. He didn't run. He exploded forward with speed that shouldn't have been possible. The Kryn fired, but Ryan was already gone, sliding under the bolt and coming up inside its guard. His hand struck the warrior's throat joint with surgical precision. The exoskeleton cracked. The Kryn gurgled and fell. The second warrior swung a blade arm. Ryan caught it, twisted, and used the alien's own momentum to flip it into the third attacker. Both crashed down. Ryan's foot came down on one's head with a force that crumpled metal. 15 seconds. 3 Kryn warriors. Dead. Ryan turned back to her, breathing steady, and extended his hand. "We need to move now. More are coming." Zarakai stared at the human she'd married, the man who'd never mentioned military service, who'd never shown a hint of violence, the man who'd just killed 3 of the galaxy's most feared soldiers with his bare hands. "Who are you?" she whispered. His smile was apologetic. "Later. Right now, stay close." Zarakai took his hand and let him pull her up. Alarms shrieked through the palace corridors as Ryan led her away from the throne room. His grip was firm but careful, like he was constantly aware of his own strength. She'd held that hand 1,000 times during diplomatic functions. She'd never felt the calluses, never noticed the controlled power in every movement. "The East Wing," she said, "already compromised. I saw their insertion pattern. They hit every exit first." Ryan pulled her left down a servant's passage. "We're going to the archive level. That's a dead end. Trust me." More Kryn appeared ahead, 4 of them moving in formation. Ryan didn't slow down. He grabbed a piece of fallen debris, a metal strut from the ceiling, and threw it like a javelin. It hit the lead warrior's chest plate hard enough to punch through, and embed in the wall behind. The Kryn looked down at the meter of metal sticking through its torso, then collapsed. The other three opened fire. Ryan shoved Zarakai into a doorway and dove after her as plasma bolts turned the corridor into a hellscape. She felt the heat wash over them. "How are you doing this?" she demanded. "Humans aren't supposed to be." "We're not, mostly." Ryan checked the corridor, then moved again. "Your medical scans when we got married, they showed human baseline stats, average strength, average speed, average everything. You passed every examination." "I did, because that's what I am on your world. Standard gravity 0.87, atmospheric pressure 0.92, Earth normal. Everything just light enough that I can pretend to be normal." His jaw tightened. "Zara, I grew up on a high-gravity colony world. 2.3 times Earth standard. We adapted, trained, had to, or we'd never leave the ground." Zarakai's mind raced. She'd read about human colony variations but never made the connection. If Ryan had spent his developmental years in gravity more than twice what her world had, then here he was operating at a fraction of his actual capacity. Every movement he'd made around her, every gentle touch, had been him holding back massive strength. They reached the archive level. Ryan punched in a code she didn't recognize, and a hidden panel slid open. Inside was a small room she'd never known existed, filled with equipment that definitely wasn't archival material. Weapons, human weapons, military-grade communications gear, a locker with armor that looked nothing like diplomatic attire. "You've been preparing for this," she said, hoping I'd never need to. Ryan was already moving, pulling on pieces of armor with practiced efficiency. "The Kryn have been watching your empire for months. Intelligence suggested they'd make a move during the summit. I requested reassignment to palace security. Got denied. So I married you instead." "You married me as a cover operation?" He stopped, looked at her directly. "No, I volunteered for palace assignment as cover. I married you because I love you. Those are separate things."
He sealed the chest plate.
"We can have the relationship discussion after I get you out alive." An explosion rocked the palace above them. Dust rained from the ceiling. Ryan handed her a sidearm. Human make, low recoil, point and shoot. Safety's off. She took it, her hands steady despite everything. "How many Kryn are in my palace?" I counted 47 on insertion. "Killed 3, so 44, minus however many your guards took out. And you think you can fight 40-plus Kryn warriors?" Ryan picked up a rifle that looked like it could punch holes through starship hulls. His expression was calm, almost apologetic. "Zara, I really hope I don't have to." "But if they're between you and safety?" He checked the weapon's charge. "Then yes, I can." More footsteps above, heavy and numerous. The Kryn were spreading through the palace, searching for her. Ryan moved to the door, weapon ready. "Stay behind me. When I say run, you run. When I say hide, you hide. No arguments, no hesitation. Understand?" Zarakai nodded. She was a queen who commanded fleets, who'd negotiated treaties across the galaxy. Right now, she was watching her husband transform into something she'd never imagined humanity could produce. "One more thing," Ryan said. "If I don't make it, there's a beacon in that locker. Red button. It'll call for extraction. Human military will come for you. I'm not leaving you. You're the queen. Your empire needs you." His smile was gentle despite the combat gear and weapons. "But I'm not planning on dying today either." He opened the door and the real fight began. The first Kryn through the archive entrance died before it fully understood what hit it. Ryan's rifle discharge was thunder in the enclosed space, and the warrior's head simply ceased to exist. 2 more pushed through behind it, and Ryan was already moving, using the doorframe as cover while laying down fire that forced them back. Zarakai had seen combat footage. She'd reviewed military engagements from a dozen species. Nothing prepared her for watching Ryan fight in person. He wasn't just fast or strong, he was efficient. Every movement calculated to maximum effect with minimum waste. When his rifle clicked empty, he dropped it and drew a sidearm in one fluid motion, putting 3 rounds through a Kryn's eye socket before it could raise its weapon. Moving! Ryan grabbed her hand, and they ran deeper into the archive level. Behind them she heard more Kryn entering, their communication clicks echoing through the corridors. They were coordinating, surrounding. Ryan pulled her into a records room and sealed the door. His hands moved across a wall panel she'd never paid attention to, and suddenly a holographic display lit up showing the entire palace layout with red dots marking hostile positions. You have surveillance access? I have a lot of things you don't know about yet. He studied the display, counting dots. 38 remaining. They're grouping up, probably called for reinforcements from their ship. We need to move before they tighten the net. Where? You said every exit is compromised. Every conventional exit. Ryan pointed to a section of the display showing the sublevels beneath the palace. The old evacuation tunnels from when this place was first built. Your people sealed them 200 years ago during renovations. But sealed doesn't mean destroyed. Those tunnels collapse regularly. The geology isn't stable. I know. I've been mapping them for 8 months. He pulled up another display showing a route highlighted in blue. This path is clear. Leads to the merchant district 2 kilometers from here. We can disappear into the city, get to the spaceport. An explosion shook the room. The Kryn were breaching doors systematically. Getting closer, Zarakai checked her pistol, making sure she understood the mechanism. How do we reach the tunnels? Through maintenance shaft 7, down 3 levels, then we blow through the seal. Ryan was already moving equipment from hidden compartments. Charges, climbing gear, breaching tools. It's going to be loud. They'll know where we are. They already know where we are. Fair point. The door buckled inward. Ryan placed a charge on the floor near the entrance, set a remote trigger, then opened a ventilation grate. In. Now. Zarakai climbed into the shaft, Ryan right behind her. They'd barely cleared the room when the door exploded inward and Kryn warriors poured through. Ryan triggered his charge. The floor beneath them detonated, and she heard the warriors fall through into the level below, their armored bodies clanging against metal and stone. They crawled through the ventilation system, moving fast. Zarakai's ceremonial robes caught on edges and tiers, but she didn't slow down. Behind them, more Kryn were entering the ventilation network, following their path. How much further? She asked. 50 meters. There's a vertical drop coming up. The shaft opened into a larger maintenance corridor. Ryan dropped first, landing in a crouch that absorbed the 3-meter fall like it was nothing. Zarakai followed and he caught her, setting her down gently. The contrast between his violence toward the Kryn and his care with her was jarring. They ran. Zarakai's lungs burned. She was in excellent shape by Velthris standards, but Ryan's pace was brutal. He noticed her struggling and slowed slightly, staying just ahead, constantly checking corners and intersections. Maintenance Shaft 7 was locked with a security seal that should have required palace authorization to open. Ryan ripped it off with his bare hands, the metal shrieking in protest. Inside was a ladder leading down into darkness. "They're 30 seconds behind us," he said, checking something on his wrist device. "When we hit bottom, I need 15 seconds to place the breaching charge on the tunnel seal." "Can you hold a position for 15 seconds? Zarakai looked at the pistol in her hand, then back at Ryan. "I can do 15 seconds. That's my queen. He started down the ladder. Let's move. They descended into the old sublevels. The air was stale, the lighting barely functional. Zarakai could hear water dripping somewhere, the groan of stressed rock. These levels had been abandoned for good reason. Ryan found the tunnel seal, exactly where his maps said it would be. He worked fast, placing charges in a precise pattern. Above them, the sound of Kryn in the shaft, coming down. 10 seconds, Ryan said. Zarakai aimed at the ladder access. Her hands were steady. She thought about her people, about the empire that needed her alive, about the human she'd married who'd hidden so much to protect her. When the first Kryn helmet appeared in the opening, she fired. The shot went wide, but it made the warrior hesitate. That was enough. It gave Ryan his time. Down! He grabbed her, and they dropped behind a support pillar. The charges blew, and the tunnel seal shattered, revealing a dark passage beyond. Ryan was already pulling her toward it when the Kryn opened fire, plasma bolts turning their cover to molten slag. They ran into the ancient tunnels as the palace collapsed behind them, and Zarakai realized that surviving the Kryn might have been the easy part. The tunnels smelled like centuries of neglect, wet stone and something organic rotting in the dark. Ryan had a light mounted on his shoulder armor that cut through the blackness, revealing walls covered in mineral deposits and structural damage that made Zarakai's heart race. The ceiling looked ready to come down with a strong breath. "Stay close to the right wall," Ryan said, his voice tight with focus. "The left side has weak support columns. I mark the safe path." Behind them, the sounds of pursuit. The Kryn weren't giving up. They'd lost some warriors in the collapse, but enough survived to keep hunting. Their clicking communication echoed through the tunnels, getting closer. Ryan moved fast but careful, following a route only he could see. Zarakai stayed on his heels, trusting his preparation. Every 50 meters or so, she noticed small marks scratched into the stone at knee height. Barely visible symbols that Ryan had clearly placed during his months of secret mapping. "You really did plan for everything," she said between breaths. "Not everything. I didn't plan on 47 Kryn. Intelligence said 20 max." He helped her over a pile of rubble. "I also didn't plan on you being this fast. You're keeping up better than I expected. I run every morning. You've seen me. I thought that was ceremonial exercise. Didn't know you actually pushed yourself. A strange conversation to have while fleeing alien warriors through collapsing tunnels." But Zarakai found herself almost laughing. 2 years of marriage, and they were still learning basic things about each other. The tunnel branched. Ryan took the left path without hesitation. 30 seconds later, the right path collapsed with a roar that shook the ground. Zarakai stumbled and Ryan caught her, kept them moving. "They're hurting us," he said. "Collapsing paths to force us toward something. Toward what? Don't know yet, but we're about to find out." They emerged into a larger chamber, some kind of old transit station from before the palace expansion. The space was massive, columns supporting a vaulted ceiling 4 stories up. Old rail lines crossed the floor, long since stripped of anything valuable. Multiple tunnel exits ringed the chamber. Ryan stopped, scanning the space. His expression darkened. "This is wrong. Too open. Too many exits. They could surround us here. Then we pick an exit and move." "Which one?" He checked his display, but the map showed all the tunnels as potentially viable routes. "I only scouted 3 of these passages. The others could lead anywhere. Dead ends, collapses, worse." That's when Zarakai heard it. A sound that didn't belong. Machinery powering up, heavy and industrial. She turned toward the far side of the chamber and saw lights activating, old systems coming online. The Kryn hadn't just chased them here. They'd been planning this. A section of wall slid open and something massive stepped through. Not a Kryn warrior, but something else entirely. A hunter-killer unit, 12 feet of armored death designed for sieges and large-scale combat. Its weapon systems lit up, targeting lasers painting red dots across Ryan's chest. "Oh, hell," Ryan said quietly. The hunter-killer opened fire. Ryan grabbed Zarakai and dove behind a column as the air where they'd been standing turned to superheated plasma. The column took the hit, ancient stone exploding into fragments. "Those things can level buildings," Zarakai shouted over the noise. "I know!" Ryan was checking his gear, pulling out his remaining weapons. 1 rifle, 2 magazines, some grenades, a combat knife, not nearly enough for what they were facing. "I need you to run when I make an opening. Pick the tunnel at 10 o'clock, the one with the blue mineral stains." That's one I scouted. It leads to the merchant district. "What are you going to do?" "Buy you time." "Ryan, that thing will kill you." He looked at her then, really looked at her, and his expression was complicated. Love and determination, and something like regret, maybe, but it has to go through me to get to you, and I'm a lot harder to kill than I look. Before she could argue, Kryn warriors started emerging from the other tunnels, 6 of them spreading out to flank positions. The hunter-killer advanced, each step shaking the floor. They were trapped, surrounded, and Ryan's small arsenal wasn't going to be enough. Ryan placed his remaining charges on the column they were hiding behind, set a remote trigger, then handed Zarakai his wrist device. "When I detonate this, you run. The device will guide you to the exit. Don't stop. Don't look back. There's a human safe house in the merchant district. Coded location is already loaded. Get there and trigger the extraction beacon. I'm not leaving you to die." "You're not. You're letting me do my job." His smile was sad. "I knew this was a possibility when I took this assignment. When I married you, I accepted that protecting you might cost everything. I made peace with that. I didn't." The hunter-killer's weapons charged again. The Kryn were closing in, confident now that their prey was cornered. Ryan kissed her, quick and desperate. "I love you." That was always real. Remember that. Then he stood up and started shooting. The grenades went first, thrown with precision at the advancing Kryn warriors. Explosions lit the chamber, throwing bodies back. Ryan sprinted directly at the hunter-killer, rifle blazing, targeting its sensor array. The machine tracked him, fired, missed as Ryan slid under its legs and came up behind it. He planted something on its back, then ran toward the opposite side of the chamber, drawing fire away from Zarakai's position. "Now!" he shouted. "Run!" Zarakai ran. Every instinct told her to stay, to fight beside him, but she ran because he'd asked her to, because her empire needed her alive, because staying would make his sacrifice. She reached the tunnel entrance and looked back once. Saw Ryan fighting 6 Kryn warriors and a hunter-killer, with nothing but a knife and impossible speed. Saw him moving like something more than human, more than she'd imagined any species could move. Then she ran into the darkness, and behind her the world exploded. The explosion collapsed 3 tunnels and sent Zarakai sprawling. She hit the ground hard, scraping her hands raw on stone, the wrist device clattering ahead of her. For a moment she just lay there, dust choking her lungs, the roar of falling rock filling her ears. Behind her, the chamber was gone, buried under tons of rubble. Ryan was buried with it. She wanted to scream, to dig through the collapse with her bare hands, but survival instinct overrode grief. More Kryn could be coming through other routes. She had to move, had to complete what Ryan died for. Zarakai grabbed the wrist device and strapped it on. The display showed a blue line leading forward through the tunnel. Her legs felt like lead, but she ran anyway, tears cutting tracks through the dust on her face. The tunnel stretched ahead, seemingly endless. The device showed distance markers counting down. 2 kilometers. 1.8. 1.5. Her breath came in ragged gasps. Her legs screamed. She kept running. Then she heard it. Behind her, faint but unmistakable footsteps. Heavy footsteps moving fast. Zarakai's heart sank. Some of the Kryn must have survived, found another route, were hunting her through the tunnels. She pushed herself harder, ignoring the burning in her chest, the way her vision was starting to blur. The footsteps got closer, faster than she could run. Always faster. She saw light ahead, the tunnel exit. The device showed 50 meters, 40, 30. The footsteps were right behind her now. Though close, she could hear breathing. Zarakai burst out of the tunnel into the merchant district's lower levels, an abandoned loading area filled with old crates and forgotten cargo. She spun around, raising her pistol at whatever was about to emerge from the darkness. Ryan stumbled out of the tunnel. He was covered in dust and blood, his armor cracked in a dozen places, limping badly on his left leg. But he was alive and moving, and when he saw her, his face broke into a relieved smile. "You're supposed to be at the safe house," he said, then collapsed. Zarakai caught him, barely keeping them both upright. "You're alive. You're alive. How are you alive?" Shaped charges. His voice was rough, damaged. "Directed the blast away from my position. Brought down the ceiling on the hunter-killer and the Kryn, then dug out through a side passage." He coughed, and blood flecked his lips, might have cracked some ribs. "And my leg is definitely broken. But alive, yeah." She helped him to cover behind a stack of crates. His leg was twisted at an angle that made her stomach turn. The armor around his ribs was dented inward. He should have been dead. Any Velthris warrior would have been dead. "We need to get you medical attention," she said. "Safe house first. 3 blocks north and east. 2 blocks. Blue door with a shipping company sign. Knock pattern is 423.
He was trying to stay focused, but his eyes were glazing.
"Medical supplies there. And the extraction beacon. Can you walk? Can I do it well? No. Can I do it? Yes." He tried to stand and nearly fell. Zarakai got under his shoulder, taking his weight. He was heavy, the armor and his own dense muscle mass making him feel like he weighed twice what she did. They moved through the lower levels, staying in shadows. The merchant district was in chaos. News of the palace attack had spread, and civilians were fleeing or barricading themselves inside buildings. Kryn ships were visible through the skylights above, more warriors deploying into the city. The invasion wasn't just about killing her, they were taking the capital. Ryan navigated despite his injuries, directing them through service corridors and maintenance passages that kept them off main streets. Every step made him grunt with pain, but he didn't stop. "Why didn't you tell me?" Zarakai asked, as they paused in an alley, catching their breath. "About who you really were, what you could do, 'cause you married a diplomat. You married Ryan Cole, cultural attaché, who liked old books and made terrible jokes at state dinners." His breathing was labored. "You didn't marry a soldier. Didn't sign up for violence and black ops and all the ugliness I left behind. I wanted to give you the person I was trying to become, not the weapon I used to be. You're both. You've always been both. Yeah, and you deserve to choose which version you wanted." He looked at her, his eyes clearer now despite the pain. "If we survive this, if we make it out, you can make that choice. I'll understand either way." The safe house was exactly where he said, marked with faded corporate logos. Zarakai knocked the pattern. 423. A hidden scanner somewhere checked them, and the door clicked open. Inside was a small apartment, ordinary except for the military equipment hidden in false-backed cabinets, medical supplies, weapons, communication gear, and a large red beacon mounted on the wall. Ryan collapsed onto a chair, finally letting himself stop. Medical kit is in the bathroom. I'll walk you through treating the leg. You need professional care. What I need is that beacon-activated so-human military knows to extract a Velthris queen from an active war zone. He coughed again. More blood. Then we wait and try not to die before they arrive. Zara Kai activated the beacon. A light started pulsing, sending its signal into orbit. Help was coming, but it would take time. Hours at minimum. Outside, the sounds of invasion grew louder. The Kryn were spreading through her capital, hunting for her, killing anyone who resisted. Her empire was under attack, and she was hiding in a safe house while her husband bled from a dozen wounds. She got the medical kit and started working on Ryan's injuries, her hands steady even though her world was falling apart. He talked her through it, staying conscious through sheer willpower, telling her exactly what to do. And in that small room, surrounded by the sounds of war, Zara Kai realized she'd already made her choice about who Ryan was. She'd made it the moment he stood up in the throne room, the moment he put himself between her and death. She'd married both versions of him, and she wasn't letting either one go. The extraction team arrived 4 hours later, dropping through the roof with military precision that would have impressed Zarakai if she wasn't so exhausted. 6 human soldiers in full combat gear, moving like they owned the war zone outside. Their leader, a woman with sergeant stripes and cold eyes, assessed the situation in seconds. Package is secure, she said into her comm. Asset is injured but stable. Evac in 2 minutes. Ryan had passed out an hour ago. Zara Kai had kept pressure on his worst wounds, administered the medications he told her to use, and watched his breathing to make sure he stayed alive. The soldiers worked efficiently, loading him onto a stretcher, checking his vitals, preparing for movement. Your Majesty, the sergeant said, we have a ship 2 blocks from here. Kryn are sweeping the district, but we have a window. Stay close, follow orders, and we'll get you out. They moved through the merchant district like ghosts, using smoke and diversions to slip past Kryn patrols. Twice they encountered warriors, and twice the human soldiers eliminated them with ruthless efficiency that reminded Zara Kai of Ryan. These weren't diplomats or cultural attachés. These were the people Ryan used to be. The ship was a compact military transport, engines already hot. They loaded Ryan into medical bay, and Zara Kai climbed in after him. The sergeant sealed the hatch, and they lifted off, rising fast through atmosphere while Kryn ships scrambled to intercept. They're launching fighters, the pilot said, calm despite the threat. Countermeasures deployed. We have escort inbound. Through the viewport, Zara Kai saw human warships dropping out of faster-than-light travel, a full battle group arranged in defensive formation. They'd brought an entire fleet to extract her. The Kryn fighters broke off. Recognizing the odds, the transport docked with the flagship, and suddenly Zara Kai was surrounded by human military personnel, medical staff taking over Ryan's care, officers asking for intel on the invasion, everyone moving with coordinated purpose. Commander met her in the medical bay, a gray-haired man with Admiral's insignia. Your Majesty, I'm Admiral Price. We're coordinating with your military command. Your fleet is engaging the Kryn invasion force. We're providing support under the Alliance terms. Ryan, she said, is he going to survive? Our doctors say yes. Broken leg, cracked ribs, internal bleeding, but nothing they can't fix. He's tough, even for one of our high-gravity operators. Price's expression softened slightly. He did good work keeping you alive. We'll make sure he pulls through. Zarakai sat beside Ryan's medical pod, watching machines work on him, repairing damage that would have killed most species. His face was peaceful now, the pain finally gone under sedation. A medic approached. He'll wake up in about 6 hours. Full recovery expected in 3 weeks. Her empire was at war, her capital occupied, her people dying. But Ryan would recover in 3 weeks because humanity had medical technology that could rebuild a shattered body in less time than it took to plan a state dinner. She'd underestimated them. Her entire species had. They'd seen humans as useful allies, decent diplomats, reliable traders. They'd never understood what humans actually were when survival demanded it. Price returned hours later with updates. Your fleet pushed the Kryn out of orbit. They're retreating, but it's not over. This was a coordinated assault on 3 Velthry's core worlds simultaneously. How many casualties? Too many. But it could have been worse. Your people fought well. He paused. For what it's worth, Ryan's intelligence reports over the past 8 months gave us early warning. We were able to position assets before the attack, probably saved thousands of lives. So Ryan had been working the whole time, gathering intelligence, preparing for threats, protecting her empire while pretending to catalog ancient texts. The man she'd married had been fighting a war in secret while she planned cultural festivals. Ryan woke up 6 hours later, exactly as predicted. His eyes found her immediately, and he smiled, that same gentle smile she'd fallen in love with. "You're safe," he said, his voice rough but steady. "We're both safe. Thanks to you. Thanks to us. You held that position for 15 seconds. You ran when I told you to. You kept me alive in the safe house." His hand found hers. We made it out together. Zarakai squeezed his hand carefully, aware now of her own strength compared to his injuries. "I made my choice. About which version of you I want? Yeah? I want the man who reads ancient poetry and makes terrible jokes. I want the soldier who fights impossible odds to protect people he loves. I want all of you, Ryan. Everything you were and everything you are." His smile widened. "That's going to be complicated. The diplomatic career is probably over. Command is talking about reassignment to active military liaison with your government. Good. My empire needs warriors right now, not diplomats." The Kryn War lasted another 2 years. Ryan fought in it, leading human forces alongside Velthry's fleets. Zarakai rebuilt her capital and commanded her people through the hardest conflict they'd ever faced. Together they forged something stronger than either species had been alone. And when the Kryn finally sued for peace, when the treaties were signed and the borders secured, Ryan Cole stood beside Queen Zarakai as both warrior and diplomat, both versions finally visible. Humanity had proven what they were capable of when pushed. The galaxy would never underestimate them again.